I'm not going to be a Canadian and do nothing but talk about the weather. That's our national pastime. It's not hockey, it's talking about the weather. That's what we do more than anything else. Let's dump into the game right away. So we're going to start a new game here. And so I'd have a few discussions about what we might play for a while. I have to say, I actually really enjoy playing the tribal governments. In particular, I have to say, there's like a ton of fun in playing in Britannia over here. Really excellent. I love playing as Demonia, just because I have a personal soft spot for Ayrshire, which is right over here, and playing as the Scots and things like that. That's not what we're going to be doing today. Likewise, I have in the past very much enjoyed playing over here. We've got some Gauls in an area which can found something called Belgia? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard of it. It's clearly some sort of fictional nation that never came around in reality. But yeah, you can form. Well, not Belgium, but okay, it's Belgium over here. One of the things with the Punic Wars DLC, so with 1.3 in the new mission system, which is gonna be crazy good. The Punic War specifically adds a bunch of really interesting and custom missions for both Rome and Carthage. In particular, I think the ones for Carthage are just, they're really cool, really interesting. But Carthage is really big right now. I mean, so you've got like sort of, I don't know, the biggest chunk of Carthage over here, Carthage Prime, but then you've got Carthage here. They're everywhere. And it's more than that because they actually have like 1 billion vassals. So I'm like, you know what? That might not be the right scope for today, but I have to say they are really excellent. The missions are good. Macedon's always been an excellent thing to play, and continues to be the fact in 1.3. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a big old trip way down here to a land called Nabatia. And this is what we're gonna be playing today. And the reason we're gonna be playing as Nabatia is because their capital is in a little old place some people like to call Petra. This is Petra. This is the Petra. The Petra that we know and love as the wonder that we never get to claim in Civilization 6. The Petra with all the cool pictures. It's right over here. So we are going to be playing as with their capital in Petra. Now I have to say, there's a very real chance we're going to get in here, play for 5 minutes, Egypt is going to declare war on us, and we'll just have to restart. Because Egypt is too big. It's too strong. If they decide to go after us, we probably can't stop them. Maybe we can. It'll depend on a few things. So I've done a few test runs of the game to get a feel about how things go. And they can go dramatically different. For example, Phrygia over here might ask us for an alliance right off the start of the game. We can't ask them. We're too puny. If we ask them, they're like, no, we're not interested. But they could. They possibly might ask us. There's a ton of gift subs that just came into the channel. A ton of gift subs. Risen Dragonborn just gifted 25 subs to the channel, bringing the total to 100. Risen Dragonborn, thank you very much for your support. That's amazing. Cheers and thank you. That's really awesome. Also, shout out to Cooler Warrior, who contributed the Whiskey and Chocolate Fund before the stream to ask some questions about whiskey, which started a big conversation in the chat. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, thank you very much. It really helps to build the community and keeps the channel going, keeps the lights on at Casa de Quill. So very appreciated. Right, so Nabatia, video games. So Phrygia might offer us an alliance, or they might not. If they do, we don't really have to worry about Egypt, because Phrygia is, well, it's actually more powerful than Egypt. There's also a bunch of things that can go down here. We can, from the start, very easily ally ourselves to Lian, Kedar, and Thamud, well, heck, and some others, Blemia, plenty of other allies to be built up over here. But one of the questions might be, do we go for an early war against Lian over here? Now, one of the other questions might be, do we go for an early war against Judea and Samaria over here? Well, they both start as vassals of Phrygia. Now, in one of my test games, Phrygia collapsed at one point. Basically had a Ming explosion, all their vassals went away as well, which meant I just gobbled up all of Palestine. So, the point is, we have no idea what's going to happen in this game. There's no one direct linear gameplay option that we can go for, because we have no idea how the start is going to shake out. But we'll do what we can. So we're going to play as Nabatia over here. We'll turn on Iron Man mode. Don't have any achievements for this yet, so we'll do Judean's People Front. I know we want to make the we really want to make the Monty Python Life of Brian references as much as possible with Judea, but we'll take a look at that. So here we are in game. Now, if you haven't played it since release, Monarch power is not a thing anymore much in Imperator Rome. They had some. It was being used sort of too much, and it was too dilute, maybe. Monarch power works so well in Europa Universalis 4 because it is hardcore tied to technology. What Monarch power in EU4 really is, it sort of represents a little bit your ability to tech up. And therefore, every decision you make in EU4, the reason it works when there's a Monarch power cost, is because it's a decision of a benefit now versus, but I really need this for technology. And everything sort of gets balanced that way, in a sort of a gorgeous way. And at release, we didn't really feel that way in Imperator Rome. The Monarch power was a little bit, didn't feel quite right. There's too many categories of it, because I think there was 4 categories, and the usage was, some of it felt kind of useless, and some of it felt really way too important, and you never had enough. So now, there's really none. There is still one power, which is political influence, that you use for a fair number of things. So there's still that value, and I mean, when we're talking about sort of Rome and that kind of setting, the idea of political influence is critical, and you need that there. There's some other values. I mean, we've got military experience, which you don't spend the same way. This is what you accrue to unlock some traditions, but it's not a power the same way. We had a stability meter, which basically balances it around 50. It naturally, at equilibrium, is at 50, and then things can sort of put it one way or another through events. So rather than the EU4 stability system, where you're at sort of 0, or you go to +1 or +2, you have this sort of balance meter. And then we've got aggressive expansion, we've got tyranny, we've got war exhaustion. I mean, we've got lots of values over here, but these are different. You don't necessarily pull the levers quite the same way. And I think the game is in a really nice state of balance when it comes to that. One of the big changes with 1.3 specifically is there are a lot fewer families now in Imperator Rome, but they're more important. So they have this sort of CK2 system of characters, right? We can look at an individual character with individual stats and things like that. And it used to be there were a lot of families listed in here, which meant when you have a lot of different important families, well, they're not really that important. So now you're going to have between 3 to 5 families when you play. It depends on your government rank. So we're sort of a mid-tier government, so we have 4 families. If we embiggen ourselves to what, an empire or whatever, we'll have 5 major families. And that means the families, though, are much more important and influential. If there's fewer of them, they mean more. One of the things is the families expect to have a certain number of positions in government. Depending on the size of your nation, they'll want, more or less. Right now, each family expects to have at least 2 of the characters each employed by the government. Right now, all of our families are satisfied. So these are all content. If they went below 2, they would become scorned. If they go more than twice, so at this point, if they had 4 posts, they would actually become grateful, which is actually pretty significant because a grateful family has a constant uptick in loyalty, as well as they actually require fewer wages, which is kind of nice. Or like Kadar War gets my vote. Well, Kadar, I don't know, they're not adjacent to us. What we are going to talk about some potentials for warfare over here. Anyway, so the family stuff has been shaken up a lot. Also, the characters have a new value called statesmanship now, which means that there's more than just their base stat when it comes to deciding who to place in certain roles. And in particular, low statesmanship basically kind of debuffs their stat for something. Statesmanship is accrued the longer someone is in kind of a position. So you don't, because it used to be you would just switch characters whenever there was someone with better stats. But now it's a little fuzzier and a little trickier who you put in certain roles for different things. High statesmanship characters are really, really, really important. Okay. Fun time. What is up with the ceiling? Oh man, that is just terrible. Just terrible. All right, let's start by taking care of a few important ticks and buttons that we want to tick off as early as possible. First of all, in our government. So we are an autocratic monarchy. So we are, well, we're not the king, we are the suffet. We're the suffet. Carthage has the same leader name. The few people over here have the same leader name. But we're sort of the king of the nation. We currently are 40% civilized. So not too much. We might be able to get that up over time. It would be very nice to do it because higher levels of civilization gives you a lot of different bonuses. Our government type, if we pick our ideas in a way that matches, if we have one military idea, one civic idea, and one religious idea, we will unlock a bonus for increased national slave output. Yay, slavery. Oh, such an awesome topic. But, you know, it's here. Oh, we should talk about the pops too are so different as well. The whole pop system has been completely redone and changed. It's not this sort of system where you just get a big list and you can hit buttons to insta-convert and do different things like that, which is one of the things that you use with your various minor power. The pops feel a little bit more sort of automated and independent. They got much more of a Victoria 2 vibe to me now than they did before, where it was like sort of there, but they didn't feel as real because you could just sort of hit a button and do whatever you want with them. Now they're kind of doing their own thing, which is pretty fantastic. So there are 4 categories of pop. There's slaves, tribesmen, freemen, and citizens. So slaves give you money. So if we match our government ideas here, we can get more money from our slaves. Woo! So let's go and pick our ideas. And yeah, probably we'll go ahead and match this, which seems fine. So we're not going to pick an oratory idea. We're going to pick one of each of the others, which seems okay. Military ideas, so some things are locked until such a time as a thing happens. So we can't take thalassocracy, can't even pronounce it, until our martial advances got to level 4 or higher. So right now our options are martial ethos, which is 10% more morale of armies, permanent shipyards, which is a 25% discount to shipbuilding cost, or we can grab ordered retreat. Who wants the retreat? Which does give us some reinforcements boost and more morale recovery. So embracing one of these ideas does take some of our political influence, but we got 100 right now, so it seems fine. I think there's no reason not to just grab the 10% morale of armies. I mean, that's gotta be the strongest option right now. I mean, it's hard to justify not always having that, because it's so, I mean, that's gotta be really good, right? So we'll do that. For our civic idea, we have access to either standardized construction, which is a 15% discount to build cost and time of buildings. This, I think, is actually quite substantial. The building system here, we are going to do a fair amount of building, and I think that's going to be pretty nice to have. Other options, though, complex tariffs, which increases our national commerce income by 20%. Right now, we don't make much money from commerce. Right now, most of our money comes from taxes, but some does come from commerce, and that's pretty good. Anything that increases your cash on hand is very useful. Although to a certain extent, having a discount to building costs sort of converts to, well, we also make more money by saving more money, right? Penny saved is a penny earned. Or we can go tax farming and just increase our slave output by another 20%. Now looking at our pops over here, so we currently have 4 provinces. Here are our slaves. So these many slaves, this many tribesmen, freemen, and citizens here. Once we start warring, we will get more slaves, because it turns out you can capture slaves when you go to war. I don't know. I quite like just the standardized construction, personally. But I think there's something you can definitely make a case for the other two. So these two, the commercial bonus or the slave bonus, both give you more income, whereas this saves you money. So how does the balance work out? Well, I don't know. I'm just going to go with standardized construction. A lot of people wanted slavery. I should know my audience. Damn it. For religious ideas, so again, 3 are available currently with our current technology. We can go state religion, which increases our country's civilization level by 5% and increases our civilization change by 0.2% per month. So if we want to get civilized, that's really good. The other thing we can have is Haru Spicy. I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced, but it's spicy to me. Increase the loyalty of subject states. We don't have any subject states right now. We have no vassals or anything. So right now it doesn't do anything for us. Maybe long term it will. Maybe we can switch to it later on. We will see. Just call them conscripted workers. Sounds better. Let's just call them like just any workers. I mean, I don't know. And then we got Origin Myth here, which increases our ruler popularity. Having a ruler be popular is actually quite powerful. And that is tempting. I'm leaning personally towards state religion just because, I don't know, civilization sounds cool. But, yeah, Amazon workers, that's what they are, exactly. Or minions. You know, I kind of like the word minions there, Hicks Alpha. What do you like? What do we want, the state religion for civilization, or do we want origin myth so we get popular? We got a vote for state religion coming in. A little bit more, some myth, some this. Yeah, I'm gonna go state religion. we'll do this. One of the things, we do have barbarians in the area over here. Hey, the new map mode system has been changed up. So you get drag and drop and ability to do things. We have a few different places where barbarians can start spawning. These are wastelands that we can never colonize, but there's still some people living there, and we call them barbarians. And every now and again, they get organized enough to start raiding us. These values can be brought down. The amount that they grow by can be tweaked by various civilization levels and things like that in adjacent territory. So long term, we may be able to bring that down a little bit. I don't know, but for now, it's not fantastic. All right, so that's our government set up. So we got their bonus slave output. Woo! Our culture is mostly Levantine. Our religion is mostly Arabic. And then we've got our mix of different castes over here. And we've got our 4 provinces going on. This is province food, which is a whole system, the new food system for both your provinces and your armies is a big thing. I kind of like one aspect of it. One of the things I'm terrible at when we play EU4 is I'm always marching my army around, getting when we're at war, I'm getting attrition everywhere from being over the limit. Here now, armies actually carry a certain amount of food with them. And so depending on what provinces they're in and various things like that, the food will decrease. Their stored food will decrease at various rates. And it's when they're out of food that they start suffering from attrition, which I think is an awesome extra layer of depth of gameplay, which also includes a new unit type as well. You can have, I think I'm blocking some of it, supply train. Some mules over here. They don't fight very well. They have 90% penalty to fighting everything. But what they do is they carry a lot more food, which is kind of nifty. Donkey. All right, let's deal with more of these buttons. Hey, let's call down an omen. So, because we're Arabic, we have certain types of omens around here. What's nice is in this mouse over, it'll tell you why you have access to certain omens, which they didn't have before. I think early on, I'm very tempted to go national tax. If we take a look at our economy right now, you can see our taxes are a lot higher in our commerce. Some of this will change as we do start to bring in some trade, and trade starts to develop here, which will happen very quickly at the start of the game. But in my test games, tax income still is quite a bit higher than the commerce income. So I think the earliest thing, because money is quite important early on, is to grab the national tax bonus. There's something to be said if we're going to insta-war for the 10% morale of armies. Don't get me wrong. But I think we're going to go ahead and grab the national taxes as our first omen here. We can also afford some inventions. So inventions do cost money to unlock. The ones you have available are based on your technology level, these advances over here. And so as you unlock more techs, more things will become available in this list. It costs money to unlock an invention, and for each invention you've unlocked, the price goes up a little bit. Are we asking about the year? 450, this is the year since the founding of Rome. In the Gregorian calendar, it is currently 304 BC. 304 BC is the year in our calendar, basically. The 450 years since the founding of Rome. Because it would just be a little weird if the year is minus 304, and then every year it would get closer and closer to 0. But although it never go to 0 because there wasn't a year 0, it'd go from -1 to +1 and things. So they're listen, we're gonna use the Roman year of counting here. That way it just goes up and is a little easier to follow. So we do have to decide what we do with our money, because here's the thing. Our money, our 106 bucks that we've got right now, we could apply some buildings, we could use to recruit some troops. I think unlocking some early inventions is quite good. In particular, anything that increases our income, let's unlock property tax right away for 5% more national taxes. We might want to unlock tribal reserve, so our tribesmen have 5% more output. I can't remember, tribesmen, are they manpower or are they both? There's a new tooltip. So here's a tribesman over here. So you can see it's highlighting things in green. See that? It's highlighting both our income and our manpower in green. So the more tribesmen we've got and the more their output is, the more of that we will get. So I think it's another good investment for tribesmen. We probably will want to get standardized measure for more import value soon. I really like supernumerary over here for a higher supply limit. Now we don't need it that badly in a sense, because we are Arabian, well, Levantine and Arabian over here. We have Pathfinders. We have decreased army attrition to start off with, which is kind of sexy. Although that's not the same as supply. And most of the territory over here being desert and whatnot is kind of a low supply tile. So having this is probably going to save us a ton of manpower. Yeah, I might move my head at some point to get out of the way of certain things. Okay, I think I'm going to hold off for now I would like this, I would like that, I would like a lot of things, but I'm going to hold off more on more inventions because I'm going to want to spend the money on some troops, funding a war, and maybe getting down some buildings. The other thing I want to spend money on is trade. So our capital has a bunch of trade routes available for import, and it would be quite nice to bring in some extra stuff. In particular, we might want to bring in more leather. So we have no leather right now. If we bring in 2 units of leather, so 2 trade routes for leather, our light infantry, one of our core troop types that we're going to use, is going to have a boost to defense. The other thing we might want to do is bring in camels. Now, we already have camels in one province in our territory here, so we can already build camel troops. But if we brought in 2 units of camels to our capital, that would give us an extra 10% discipline for our camel fighters, which is pretty stupendous. In terms of armies, did I just go and shrink that? I don't want to shrink that. I want to leave that up. In terms of armies, let's talk about that really quick, because we've got a note here about lack of commanders. We've got 1 army here, the 1st army. We also have a navy with 1 ship right now. 1 ship isn't doing anything for us. I think there's 2 ways to go with the navy. Either we spend a bunch of money getting us up to 10 total ships. If we have 10 total ships, then what we can do is we can do slave raids. We can park our ships adjacent to a port, and we can go and raid the port for slaves. The thing is, and while that sounds super cool, we actually have very few targets for that right now, because we can only raid from ports that A, aren't defended by a fort, which really around here in the, is this the Red Sea? Over here? Is that where we are? I don't know geography. Anyway, the port's over here. Sinus Arabicus. Anyway, that's where we are. As far as I know, none of the ports are defended by forts, so that's fine. But you can only grab slaves from ports that have 5 or more people in it. So we could raid this place because it's got 12 pops. We could raid this place because it's got 8. And we can raid here because it's got 24. After that, this has only got 4. On the other side, this has got 4. This has got 4. This has got 4. This has got 1. This has got 5. We would spend a lot of money getting ourselves up to 10 ships to get some slaves, and then we can't raid them again for another 10 years. I don't know if it's worthwhile. Alternatively, we could spend more of it on our military, because you know what's another good way of getting slaves? Sieging down provinces. In most of the provinces that we're going to siege here, we're going to get slaves into our capital. So I feel like that's probably a better source of well, just better choice overall. So I think what we're going to do is I'm actually going to trash this navy. Just get rid of the 1 ship, because what are we going to do with it? Nothing. And instead we're going to spend our money on ground troops and maybe go looking for an early war. Although, here's the thing. We may have to decide a little what's going on. What I would like to do is this. I would like to start a war with Leon over here. And so I'm going to start by, I'm going to spend 10 political power. Or, sorry, wrong button. 20 political power to fabricate a claim on Arabica Relica, which is the northern area over here next to us. I'm going to fabricate a claim over there, so it's going to take us a little while to do it. And then meanwhile, I'm going to try to get an alliance. So just to confirm, I cannot get an alliance from Phrygia if I ask, because we're too small for them. But they might ask us. In fact, it's probably a good idea for us to try to just improve relations with them. Let's see what we can do. I'm actually going to delay taking a mission for reasons that, well, I will explain soon. But I'm going to try to get an alliance with Thamud and Kedar. And we can have 2 other relationships. We can have up to 4 right now because of our current stance. I'm not sure there's really anything else that's worth asking for. If we're worried about Egypt, at some point we will ask for Blemia. Maybe it's okay to ask them now, actually. Although they might get attacked by Egypt. That's another possibility as well. I'm going to leave 1 relationship slot open, and fingers crossed that Phrygia comes and asks us for something. All right, our army over here needs a commander. Now, the commanders don't care about statesmanship. It only uses their martial ability directly. You got nice color coding for important families over here. So we might want to get one of the families to feel grateful by having them up to 4 people. The problem is none of the major family people are important enough. Gaddish over here, he's got a skill of 7. Sounds pretty good. We're going to make him a commander of the army. But you know what we might do? Is we might adopt him into our family. So we are the Philocerid family over here, which is a major family in the list, right over here. We're at 3 of 2 people. If we go and take this guy, you know, he's a lowborn minor family guy. We can adopt him into our family. We'll lose a little prestige,